I'll leave you. I've read this paper long enough to know you're not one of the worst. So, it's all the more baffling that you would try to pass this vicious fiction off as reasoned fact.
Well, Dr.
Rampele.
Rampele. I've stuck my neck out on this paper to take a stand against white prejudice. But if you think that means I'm going to go soft on some sensationalist pushing black prejudice, well, you brought your complaint to the wrong man.
Black prejudice? That's not what Steve's about at all.
You're Mr. Biko, building a wall of black hatred in South Africa. And I will fight him as long as I sit in this chair.
What you do in that chair is put words in his mouth. And you know he can't answer because he's banned. If you
I believe I understand what Mr. Biko is about.
Well, you believe wrong. And he can't come to you. If you were the honest newsman you claim to be, you ought to go and see him.
Look, where are you from?
From South Africa. But I was one of two to be granted a scholarship to Natal Medical School. I'm a token of your white paternalistic concern for the natives of this land.
Well, I'm glad we didn't waste our money.
I know you're not a fool, Mr. Woods. But you are uninformed. Steve Biko is one of the few people who can still save South Africa. He's in King Williamstown right now. That's his banning area.
Good morning.
Mr. Donald Woods?
Yes, I'm Donald Woods.
I'm Steve's wife. Please, come in. He's expecting you.
Thank you.
But we're glad you could come. Father Russell got this for us. You see, we're trying to make a kind of community center where black people can meet. Maybe have classes.
The new dyes have arrived at last.
Good, tell Cincy. This way.
Who's this one?
Oh, he's just a little rascal like his father. And even more trouble. You'll find him out there.
Steve Biko? Are you Steve Biko?
I am. I would have met you in the church, but as you know, I can only be with one person at a time. You see, if a third person comes into the room, even to bring coffee, that breaks the ban. In the system, the police are just across the road. But of course, you would approve of my banning.
No, I think your ideas are dangerous, but no, I don't approve of banning.
A true liberal.
It's not a title I'm ashamed of, though I know you regard it with some contempt.
I just think that a white liberal who clings to all the advantages of his white world, jobs, housing, education, Mercedes, is perhaps not the person best qualified to tell blacks how they should react to apartheid.
I wonder what sort of liberal you would make, Mr. Biko, if you were the one who had the job, the house, and the Mercedes, and the whites lived in townships.
It's a charming idea. It was good of you to come, Mr. Woods. I wanted to meet you for a long time.
Follow you everywhere.
They think they do.
No, this is it.
Yes, this is it. A clinic for black people, staffed by black people, run by a black doctor.
Is this her idea or yours?
Come on, let me show you around. It was a collective idea, but we were lucky to have her.
And a white liberal doctor doing the same thing wouldn't serve your purpose, no.
When I was a student, trying to qualify for the jobs you people will let us have, I suddenly realized it wasn't just good jobs that were white. The only history we read was made by the white man, written by the white man. Televisions, cars, medicines, all invented by the white man, even football. Now, in a way like that, it's not hard to believe there's something inferior about being born black. We grow most of our own food here for the patients and some of the staff.
In the church?
Oh, that was here long before us. But I began to think this idea of inferiority was an even bigger problem for us than what the Afrikaners were doing to us. That first, a black man had to believe he had as much capacity to be a doctor, a leader, as a white man. So we tried to set this place up. My own mistake was to put some of those ideas down on paper.
The government banned you.
And the fighting liberal editor started attacking me.
I attacked you for being racist.
How old are you, Mr. Woods?
41, if that makes any difference.
A white South African. 41 years old, a newspaper man. Have you ever spent any time in a black township?
I've been to many.
No, don't be embarrassed. Except for the police, I don't think one white South African in 10,000 has. You see, we know how you live. We cut your lawns, we cook your food, clean your rubbish. How would you like to see how we live? The 90% of your fellow countrymen who have to get off your white streets at 6 o'clock at night.
Jane! Yes, Mom? Put the strawberries in the fridge.
Okay, but make sure Dad stays there, it's not come down.
All right, dear. What time did you get back? I've given up on you.
Half an hour ago. Already had a swim.
Sweetheart? Annie gave me.
Gavin. Oh, isn't that...
Duncan, give Gavin a
And what did you give her?
Nothing.
You terrible girl.
Well,
You were right.
what was he like?
They built a damn clinic up there.
Stop it!
Dylan!
Boys! She's the doctor. You should see it. People come from miles.
How did they raise the money?
Some local money from the community. A lot of church money from overseas. And even the mining companies threw a few pennies in.
South African mining companies.
Yes. Apparently someone important heard him make a speech that impressed him.
Thanks, Evelyn.
He is impressive.
Master?
He hasn't talked you into black consciousness.
No. But I have agreed to let him take me to a black township. He's going to educate me.
He's banned. How can he take you anywhere?
I'm not sure.
You really think this is worth the risk?
The education of a white liberal.
If you get caught out of your banning area, well, all he might have to do is write a letter to his board of directors. I don't want them to get you in a jail.
You tell David he promised to finish that table today.
I won't get caught.
He gets no tea till he does. I need some money from the cash box.
No, you won't get caught if some paid informer doesn't run to the police. It's in the drawer, it's open.
We'll make a whacking man of you yet, Steve Biko. How do you want to do this?
Ask Tabo to come over. I'll turn on the desk light. Mampila will occupy the system for a couple of minutes. I'll slip out. Tabo will sit in my seat.
I'm glad I wasn't your mother.
Now look, I was born in a tribal homeland. Transkei, my dad had a store there. I'm not half as uncomfortable as you think.
As a liberal, if you had your way, you'd be riding buses, taxis, just like us.
Well, you tell me my days of white privilege are numbered, so I'm enjoying them while I can.
Run, son, run. It's a miracle a child survives here at all. Most of the women who have work permits are domestic maids. So they only get to see their kids for a couple of hours on Sundays. Place is full of drunks, thuggery. People so desperate for anything they'll beat a kid bloody if they thought he had 5 rand.
Was that kid you a few years ago?
Yeah. Maybe more scared. But if you do run fast enough, if you do survive, you grow up in these streets, these houses. Your parents try, but in the end, you only get the education the white man will give you. Then you go to the city to work or shop. You see their streets, their cars, their houses, and you begin to feel there is something not quite right about yourself, about your humanity, something to do with your blackness, because no matter how dumb or smart a white child is, he is born into that world. But you, the black child, smart or dumb, you are born into this. And smart or dumb, you'll die in it.
Shebeen queens were informers.
Yeah, they are. If they weren't, the police would close down this place just like that.
But you see, it's only some things they inform on, others they don't bother. Anyway, we're okay here. This one's wild about Steve. You see, he has that way with women.
He's very articulate. Where did he get his education?
He's never been inarticulate. But his father died. And when he was 17, he was taken into a mission school.
Most of these guys, they're living in a bed out there on their own. No work permit, no residence permit. You see, a man and wife who can't find work in the same white town are not allowed to live together in the same black township. You split up black families so that for thousands of husbands and wives, if they see each other once a year, they're lucky.
You keep saying you. You're talking about the Afrikaner government. Don't blame all the whites for apartheid.
How many live-in maids do you have, Mr. Woods?
One. But she doesn't...
Don't pick on him, Peter. He's here to have a good time. Come on, drink up. Cheers.
Look, I'm not defending what's been done here, but he's the one who's against the liberals.
Huh?
We're trying to move towards integration.
Of course. You want to give us a slightly better education so that we can get slightly better jobs.
At first, maybe.
You don't want to be forced into your society. I'm going to be me as I am, and you can beat me or jail me or even kill me. But I am not going to be what you want me to be.
The best you want for us is to be allowed to sit at your table using your silver and your china. And if we can learn to use it like you do, then you will kindly let us stay. We want to wipe the whole table clean. It's an African table, and we will sit at it in our own right.
You must remember, before you arrived, we had our own culture. We had many villages. Small. You know our language, Mr. Woods. The word we use for nephew is my brother's son. Tenji calls my wife not aunt, but mother's sister. We have no separate words for members of the family. All begin with brother and sister. We took care of each other.
We got a lot of things right, which your society never solved.
You did have tribal wars in this land of yours.
Well, what do you call World War I and World War II?
You use words very cleverly. But there's something about it that scares me.
Of course there is, because in your world, anything white is normal, the way the world is supposed to be.
And your real genius is that for years you've managed to convince most of us of that, too.
Just tell her to come in. Ken, this is Tenji Mchinso and Mapetla Mohapi. They're from King Williamstown, where we met a few weeks ago.
Yes, sir?
Yeah, could you come in? And I'm glad to say that yesterday the board approved their appointments to the staff. I want you to brief them on our copy rules. Eve, could you take them upstairs to see Bob?
Sure. Will you come this way, please?
Tell him to give them their assignments for tomorrow. And I want
Thanks,
you
Mr. Woods.
Right, teach them how to use our cameras.
Where are they going to work?
In the newsroom.
Does this Biko practice black magic as well?
Not sure. But I think this is worth a try. They're going to cover the real black news, things we've never reported. Something illegal in that, and brings a lot of new readers.
Oh, I'm sure the white readership will be delighted. And when they start ranting on about black consciousness...
Yeah. Just remember, my blue pencil still determines what goes in this paper.
Yes, of course it does. Yeah, boss.
Ken.
Yeah?
You like football, don't you?
And sure as hell, he's paying people to stir up trouble between us. Because when we fight amongst ourselves, he can say, see, they aren't fit to run their own lives. And he can go on telling us where to live and how to live. He can pay us nothing and pass his laws without listening to one word we say. And remember, they killed over 400 black students last year. We've got to stick together. As one people, we have to make the white man know his free ride on the back of black labor is over, finished, and done. Now, we've got a surprise for you. He's a little modest, but you listen to what he has to say. Mamelan.
This is the biggest illegal gathering I've ever seen. I've heard what the last speaker had to say, and I agree. We are going to change South Africa. All we've got to decide is the best way to do that. And as angry as we have the right to be, let us remember that we are in the struggle to kill the idea that one kind of man is superior to another kind of man. And killing that idea is not dependent on the white man. We must stop looking to him to give us something. We have to fill the black community with our own pride. We have to teach our children black history. Tell them about our black heroes, our black culture, so they don't face the white man believing they are inferior. Then we'll stand up to him any way he chooses. Conflict if he likes, but with an open hand too. To say that we can all build a South Africa worth living in. A South Africa for equals, black or white. A South Africa as beautiful as this land is, as beautiful as we are.
That's the one who made the speech.
Sit down.
You know, I don't advocate violence, Tibet. But don't make the mistake of treating me without respect.
Don't tell me what to do, Kefir. I'll do your banding area, talking to a crowd. You won't be a witness at that trial. You'll be up there on the stand with your friends, inciting racial hatred.
On whose words? What's his name? Captain DeVette, you are not going to send me to a Pretoria court on the evidence of a paid informer in a cardboard box, are you? Everyone knows those kind would say whatever you wanted them to say.
You're a bit of poison, Biko. And I'm going to see you're put away.
Not on that kind of testimony, you won't.
Don't.
No. He has to appear as a witness for the defense. We don't want it to look like anything happened to him.
You're lucky, Biko.
Lucky? I just expect to be treated like you expect to be treated.
You and your big-headed ideas.
Well, if you're afraid of ideas, you better quit now.
We'll never quit.
Come on. What are you so afraid of? Once you try, you'll see there's nothing to fear. We're just as weak and human as you are.
We're gonna catch you red-handed one day. Then we'll see how human you are.
I quote, "I believe that South Africa is a country in which black and white shall live together." Those are your words. What does it mean?
It means that I, and those gentlemen in the dock, believe that South Africa is a plural society with contributions to be made by all segments of the community.
Are you familiar with the language in some of these documents the accused have discussed with black groups?
Yes, since some of those documents were drawn up by me.
The one noting with concern and disgust the naked terrorism of the government?
That is correct.
You say naked terrorism. Do you honestly think that is a valid statement?
Well, I think it is a far more valid statement than the charges against these men here.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm not talking about words. I'm talking about the violence in which people are baton charged by police, beaten up. I'm talking about police firing on unarmed people. I'm talking about the indirect violence you get through starvation in the townships. I'm talking about the hopelessness, the desolation of the transit camps. Now, I think that, all put together, that constitutes more terrorism than the words these men have spoken here, but they stand charged. And white society is not charged.
When you and others in black consciousness speak, you say, "Our true leaders have been banned and imprisoned on Robben Island." Who are you referring to specifically?
Specifically, we refer to people like Mandela, Sobukwe, people like Govan and Mbeki.
And is it not true that the common factor with these people is that they have advocated violence against the South African government?
The common factor with these people is that they have selflessly pushed forward the struggle of the black man.
So, your answer to this so-called naked terrorism is to provoke violence in the black community.
No, our movement seeks to avoid violence.
But your own words call for direct confrontation.
That's right. We demand confrontation.
Isn't that a demand for violence?
For you and I are now in confrontation, but I see no violence.
But nowhere in these documents do you say that the white government is doing anything good?
Well, it does so little good, my lord, that it is not worth commenting on.
But surely that approach inflames racial hatred and anti-whiteism.
My lord, blacks are not unaware of the hardships they endure or what the government is doing to them. We want them to stop accepting these hardships, to confront them. People must not just give in to the hardships of life. They must find a way, even in this environment, to develop hope. Hope for themselves, hope for this country. Now, I think that is what black consciousness is all about. Now, without any reference to the white man, to try and build up a sense of our own humanity, our legitimate place in the world.
Ja, dat is mijn soort werk.
En die telefoon maar. Ga nou wel klaar maken. Dat zal niet donders, weet je.
Ja, dat is waar.
Donald, go to Kruger. He's always saying he'll fight police illegality. We'll take him up on it.
Kruger, he'd probably give them a medal.
Now, Montpelier, whatever his personal prejudices, he's not going to condone this sort of thing publicly.
Oh, won't he? I'll bet you he'll find an excuse for it.
You're positive it was Captain Tibet? Tibet?
Where's Steve?
He went to the clinic to draw off the security police. He didn't want anyone seeing Dilemma talking to you.
Donald, fly to Pretoria. The local police will only laugh at you here.
Ah, Mr. Woods, you found your way.
Good morning, sir. Minister of Police, and I walk right into your grounds, and not a soul in sight.
Perhaps not in sight, but if you weren't expected, how do you do? Come in, come in. I'm just having a drink. Will you join me?
Yes, thank you. What are you having?
I'm on a whiskey myself.
That'll be fine. I want to thank you for seeing me at the weekend.
Ah, it's nothing, man. I always like to help the press if I can. Now, what is it you wanted to see me about? Gesundheit.
Gesundheit.
Sit down.
Thank you. It's a matter concerning Steve Biko.
Biko? My God, man, I know all about Steve Biko.
Minister, I don't understand why he's banned. You need a black leader you can talk to.
Look, I don't need to tell you, this country has a special kind of problem. Shit, man, do you think I like banning and detaining people without trial? I'm a lawyer. It goes against the grain. Come. Come, I want to show you something, Mr. Woods. We Afrikaners came here in 1652. 200 years before there was any such thing as a camera. Yet look at this. The trek across the wilderness. The homesteading. The concentration camps the English put our wives and children in during the Boer War. The working of the land. The building of the cities. And any Afrikaner family could show you the same thing. We didn't colonize this country, Mr. Woods. We built it. Grandfather Johannes, a formidable drinker. Do you think we're going to give that all up? That's what Mr. Biko wants. This is a black country, he says. God, what's here was built as much by Afrikaner blood and toil as ever it was by the blacks. You came to us for work, remember? We didn't force anyone to labor.
Well, they have very little alternative since you've taken over most of the land. And wouldn't you say their cheap labor has had something to do with the success of our economy?
I know what you're saying. Don't think I don't understand that argument. I do. We know there has to be a way to work together and live together, and we're trying to find one. Maybe a little too slow to suit some of them. But it's no use your Mr. Biko filling them with false expectations. We're not just going to roll over and give all this away. Listen, trust me. Let's sit in the shade. I know a lot more about Mr. Steve Biko than you do, Mr. Woods. Is that what you wanted to see me about?
Well, no, actually, it's...
But if that's your recommendation, if you think it's really worth it, then I'll certainly consider meeting him. How's your drink?
I'm fine. I really think you should. I know you'll find him more moderate and more intelligent than you believe. But what I've really come about is an incident that occurred at a sort of community center Biko was trying to put together. The place was smashed up the other night.
Yeah, I know about that. My police are investigating it.
Your police are the ones who did it.
What makes you say that?
An eyewitness saw a security police captain and some of his men smashing the place up.
Will he testify?
He's afraid to. But I felt it would be more effective in any case if you took some action internally. You've always stated you're against any illegality by your officers.
My God, I am. I appreciate your attitude, Mr. Woods. I assure you, this is something I'll pursue. I want no thugs in my department. Don't be surprised. Ach, we're not really the monsters we're sometimes made out to be.
It's all right, Evelyn. I'll get it.
Get back, Charlie.
Mr. Donald Woods.
It's on the piano.
I'm Donald Woods.
You made a complaint to the Minister of Police.
Yes. It's all right, mate.
Come on, Charlie.
It's prompt. I only saw him yesterday.
You had a witness to the alleged crime.
That's right. And now I explained to Mr. Kruger that I couldn't name him, but there definitely
You
was...
reported a crime, Mr. Woods. And the law states you must name the witness.
No, you don't understand. I said...
You must name the witness, or you will go to prison until you do. That is the law.
I don't want to have to go back to Mr. Kruger and report the two of
You
them.
report to whoever you like. Our orders, Mr. Woods, come from the very top.
Kruger.
I didn't say Mr. Kruger. I said from the top.
Next time he sends you, you'd better have a warrant.
The law is on our side.
Yeah, well, justice is on mine. We'll see how we make out in court. And tell Mr. Kruger he must come to my house for a whiskey one day.
Steve! Steve! Stay in the middle, and we'll cover you.
No, it's okay. It's okay, boy. It's okay.
Dirty player, Pico.
I was taught by a Catholic priest. What do you expect? Are you alone?
Yeah.
Who told you I was here?
Your wife. She didn't tell me where the police thought you were.
Well, we planted a phone call saying I was going to spend the afternoon going over the books at the clinic.
Got my summons today. They're actually going to prosecute. It's 6 months for withholding the name of a witness. I think they're trying to break up our friendship.
I don't know. A few months in jail might be just what you need to prove your credibility as a budding activist.
Yeah, well, I got my old law professor, Harold Levy, to defend me. He's the best there is.
You want one?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Pinda.
But I'm not going to name Dilema, whatever happens. But Kruger obviously means business.
They've always meant business against us. Someday we'll be the damn system in this country.
A lot of us are going